Joining me now, Alan Orr, immigration attorney and past president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Thanks so much for being here. So what exactly is the ACLU asking for, and why do you think it's important?
So it's very important to understand the way the system is working now. So it's currently under the secrecy, and they actually did a FOIA in August that was not responded to. So they want to know exactly what's going on. What's the cost to American people? Are they meeting the due process rights of these individuals? And also, just what's the process? The American people should know exactly how they're removing people.
So you're involved with advocacy for migrants in D.C., I think in Tennessee, Georgia. You're also part of the well-established Haitian immigrant community on the East Coast. I know that you've done a lot of work with the Haitian immigrant community. Do you think that what we just heard from Texas lines up with what you're hearing elsewhere?
I think it does. And the message that I want to send to individuals in the immigrant world is that our values are based in law, not intimidation. And a lot of what the Trump administration is doing right now is a lot of intimidation and doing fear that is not based in facts or the regulations of the Constitution. We only have one Constitution that works for both parties. So the concept that a new president is going to come in and do something differently that's been done in the past and sort of avoid due process that was already established in the Supreme Court in a 2020 case for undocumented immigrants is problematic.
You know, they say there's an old saying, knowledge is power. Do you think a lot of this fear is coming out of the lack of knowledge, the lack of clarity? How much of it is about confusion? And if they knew more about exactly how the process was going to work, and if lawyers could counsel them on how the process is going to work, people wouldn't be so scared.
I think a lot of people in removal don't have a lawyer, so that's the first thing we should talk about. There's about 3 million individuals who are in removal cases, and many of them are children that don't have lawyers. I think the process of educating individuals is important, but just like in your first segment, when you have an individual who seems to be around the law, constantly sort of pushing the barrier and testing the test of our Constitution and our democracy, there's just a grounded fear. And when you keep hearing there's going to be a raid, there's going to be a roundup, we're going to do these things, we're going to use the military, such outlandish things that aren't even based in our law. There is a 1876 Act that basically says the concept of using the military on U.S. soil needs constitutional approval. So the concept that a president can say he's going to do it without consulting Congress first just should not be a conversation we're having out loud right now. Sure, individuals in the country who are undocumented should be concerned, and they might not have a right to be here. But the concept that all of a sudden we're going to start removing thousands, hundreds, millions of people from the United States in a 30-day period should alarm everyone.
So, Alan, what are you going to be watching for over these next 60, 61 days before Donald Trump takes office?
I'm going to be watching for what Tom Homan does. I think that he's a police officer. He's a good cop. I think he knows about the Fourth Amendment very well. I don't love all of his policies, but he's been a rule follower. And if he's the czar, then he, for me, is going to make sure that things at least run the system in which we can say you'll have to go through the immigration courts. What I'm afraid of is that we'll have a president who may come to power and then use military assertions and threats and national security to avoid the Constitution and remove due process, which we saw shortly after 9/11, which in this case, the undocumented individuals who are here, while some of them may be a problem and do deserve to be deported, they are not a national security like 9/11.
Such an important conversation. Alan Orr, thank you so much for coming on the program.